Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today I'll be showcasing a deck that I can't believe that I never showcased, but I went through my list of videos, and when I did a search on this particular deck, it only said that I included it in a video I did on 13 Halloween decks, or 13 decks, that you could use for Halloween. And the deck that I'm referencing is the Tarot del Fuego by Ricardo Cavolo. Now, I really wanted to love this deck. I really did. The few cards that I saw when I guess it was advertised, and I don't know where I bought it because I've searched my Amazon list going way back and I couldn't find it anywhere. I know I purchased it when I lived in my previous home, so it wasn't a recent purchase. I've lived here now going on 3 years. And it is published by Fournier, so it's got incredible cardstock. But the artwork, I think I mentioned that I really wanted to love this deck, but when I got it, I either felt that it was created by somebody who really didn't have a handle on tarot or had a very different perspective than any tarot deck that I've ever seen, which is legit. I mean, you can have your own thing, right? As long as you're consistent, you can do your own thing. But I found that it was too jarring for my eyes, or I couldn't reconcile my understanding of tarot to use it. Maybe it's because I'm too old to rewire the circuitry up there or something. I don't know. I do want to mention that if you are new to this channel or if you're new to tarot sometimes has off-putting images. Tarot historically has some nudity. If you are offended by tarot in any way, either by the idea of tarot or by occasional nudity, sometimes it can be in your face, then this channel is not for you. And, I'm giving you fair warning to move on. Now, when I see a deck that has curious symbolism, I mean, typically when I get a tarot deck, I don't read the little white book. I usually don't need to read the little white book. However, I will reference it if there are images that I can't really get a handle on, and I just like, oh, what were they thinking about? Well, this little white book isn't going to help you with any of that. It gives you pretty much the standard meanings of the tarot cards. Doesn't necessarily reflect what's happening in the cards. So without further discussion, we'll discuss the cards once I flip the camera. By the way, some of you might notice that my magic spell that I had over here, I've just relocated it because I get upset just to see it. So that's why it's not there. Okay, here we have the Fool. Now you'll notice, I think if this video is longer than about 30 minutes or 25 minutes, I will do a reading with these cards in the next video. Otherwise, I'll do it at the end. However, I have a feeling this is going to be a long video. So here we have the Fool, and he has certain ingredients that we're accustomed to seeing. We have an individual wearing bells. He's got a satchel. He's got a dog, and he's got a walking stick. But then there's the addition of multiple eyes, or that could be moons, but it looks like the googly eyes of like the Cookie Monster or something. We have volcanoes in the background, an upside down house. And you could still use the meaning of the standard, or not standard, but your understanding of the Fool card when you see this card. But I think this would be a deck whereby you would read the deck. So in addition to your understanding of what a card might mean, if something you see within the card identifies or is appropriate to the context of the question, seize upon it. And here are the backs, which is what appears on the front of the box. So we have an individual with multiple eyes, again, lots of eyes in all of the images. He's got the things that one might see on a magician's table, which here is represented by a tree trunk. We have flowers. He is certainly outside. And we have snow in the distance, or those could be beautiful petals from a tree blowing in the spring, who knows? We have the female pope, which is named the priestess. Now she's above the earth, so we have the earth represented here and the ozone layer or whatever, and we have a house, I suppose. And she's above it all. So this would suggest that she's a spiritual individual, lots of eyes, and lots of moons. Here we have the Empress. In place of her face, we have a bumblebee. Well, it's covering her face. It's not in place of her face. She's got lots of bumblebees. There's the suggestion that there's fertility within her womb. And she also appears to be above the planet Earth. Now, the Emperor doesn't seem to be above the planet Earth. Here, he has, a threatening look. And reference to, I suppose, Aries. I don't see any astrological stuff other than maybe the reference to his horns or a goat. I don't know. Maybe they're referencing Capricorn. I don't know. I don't know enough about this type of animal, but I think that it kind of looks like a goat, doesn't it? So that would be Capricorn, maybe? Maybe not Aries. I don't know. Now, interestingly, the number 5 card, they named the Hierophant, or the Pope. You would think, since he appears as the 5th card of the first people, that he would be the one, if he was a spiritual being, that would be the one presented above the earth. Now, he is slightly above the earth, but he's more grounded. In fact, he's only riding on the back of an elephant, which has like 8 eyes itself. But we have some of the symbols of the Pope, the triple tier crown, the keys, and other things you may notice that I missed. Perhaps there's passion within the gentleman, and there's a more groundedness to the woman, and there's another woman. Could be 2 sides of the same woman, since they seem to share a body, which is an interesting take on the 3 individuals that are sometimes in a tarot card representing the lovers. So we have something from above that's witnessing this. A bird, perhaps, shooting an arrow. Here we have the chariot drawn by a tiger and a fox, and a charioteer who, within the chariot itself, seems to be within a partition, like it's some type of coach or some type of not the standard type of chariot. It's a chariot that has doors, and Very busy cards. Super busy. Okay, here we have Justice. Now, at first glance, one might confuse this with Fortitude, which is 8 in in a pip style deck, a traditional pip style deck. But here, it's interesting to me that there is a lion, which could suggest Fortitude with 8, but it's called Justice. So we do have scales. We do have an individual, I don't know. I guess that's Lady Justice with her sword and the scales, and a lion with multiple eyes, and a castle. Here we have the Hermit. Now let's see. The Hermit appears to be blindfolded. It's very confusing to see his arms, his hands. Okay, here's one. He's carrying a snake. And in the other, he's carrying a lighthouse. Okay, so there's a light. There's a reference to death. It could be a suggestion of time passing. There's a snake, multiple eyes. I'm not really sure what this is with eyes. A very, very busy card. I guess you could say that it has the ingredients, but there's also lots of things that distract us, I think. Now he's got underneath the snake that he's holding, there's a dark cloud with thunder and lightning. I'm not exactly sure. Sorry about that. I don't know what my camera does. It's strange things. Okay, so here we have the Wheel of Fortune. Now this is interesting to me because I guess at first I was kind of like confused by the flame, but I guess the flame is moving in the same direction as the critters on the wheel. There's an angel with a knife in her mouth. A cup within a cup. Here we have the Fortitude or the Strength card without the appearance of the lion, which I think is very interesting. There are dragon tails, some type of beast in place of the lion. Weapons, swords. And an innocent young person descending into the mouth or the abyss of something scary. So certainly before one were to use this deck, I would highly recommend that you do something like what I'm doing, and meditate on it. Because I so far we do see, certain elements that are consistent, but then there's lots of other things which could be a distraction. Now here we have a masked or a head covered individual, but his face then is appearing in his stomach, that we can see through the ripped shirt. He is hanging by a foot, but we don't see him, right? We're not aware of who this person is except through here. I think this probably is safe to say, oh yeah, there's the death card. Now we have death of human, we have death of other animal, he has the scythe. So there's 3 sunsets or sunrises. It could be sunrise or sunset. But then we have like the cycle of the sun or the sun appear, We have a moth. That looks like a moth. A snake, a head that perhaps met it's the Grim Reaper here. Here we have Temperance, quite busy. I I'm not really sure if there's water from one to another. It looks like flame from one and water in another kind of horn. And the individual is not holding these things. She's pointing to one, and I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Unless the water is gushing from her hand in one into this. But then the fire is coming from there that she's pointing to. We have a rainbow, which I think we see in the albino Waite-Smith deck for Temperance, which is an interesting reference. We have that she's in the clouds, I guess. We have a hummingbird. I think we'd probably be able to recognize this as the devil. Oh my goodness, I hope I'm not getting these out of order. Hold on. Yeah, the cards are really like slippery, in part because I never use the deck. So, the more you use the deck, it just becomes a little, it starts to get some traction, right? But, so anyway, we have a serpent with wings that don't suggest virtue. And then we have his minions. One is like a pig and the other one is, I don't know what that critter is. Well, there's no mistaking that for the tower. We have tiger claws. We do have a celestial thing coming from the clouds, but it's not coming from the top. It's coming from the side. The tower is full of eyes. We have lots of volcanoes, and we have an individual who has been buried under the tower. He's been there for a while. The star, and here we have some nudity, which is typical in tarot decks. So there's lots of water, as we see in a reference to the constellation Aquarius. A woman by the water's edge. She's like a mermaid. She's like, not a woman, but a female. There's a vessel in her womb, and from her hands, the water is poured. The water is poured, and there's a lot of activity in the sky. Here we have the moon. The crustacean is in a pool of water or in a body of water, has not tried to come up yet. The snakes are on the top level of soil. So it seems like this is either a bridge or it's a pool of water underneath the earth. The dogs howl, preventing anything from coming up. We have the towers. We have the face and the moon. Maybe some type of eclipse here. And here we have the sun card. Radiant. We have a push me, pull you kind of dynamic with a creature that is of two minds. We have a tree growing from them with eyes. We have a hand with an eye. And we have the Judgment card. Whoa, so much is going on here. So we don't have an angel with a horn, but we have a being with a bell, perhaps. These are his wings, or they're representing the wings. You'd have to really, if this didn't have a number on it, and it didn't have a name. I'd have to look at it for a hot minute to figure out which card it was, but I think I could figure it out. It doesn't make me feel like a person has to be, held accountable, or that a person is going to be required to atone for his or her actions. I don't get that sense from this image. Because of the innocence of animals, right? We have raccoons, maybe aren't seen as innocent, but bunny rabbits, who doesn't like a bunny rabbit? So I guess they could be sort of representing individuals with different characteristics. And here we have the World card. So we have a heavily tattooed gentleman within the mandala of laurel or acacia wreath. We have the 4 creatures in the corners, although they're represented differently than what we're accustomed. And we're moving on to the pip cards. We're at 21 minutes. I'm keeping an eye on the time. So the first card, the Ace of Swords, really does suggest that this could be, the suit of swords has the potential for violence or pain or suffering. So right off the bat, we get that. I'm not exactly sure what the message is, just 2 swords in front of a person's face. Perhaps it's damaged the person's face. A painful union, maybe. Here we have what we are accustomed to seeing, except that in this case, it's stabbing, and the swords are stabbing an apple, which is either blindfolded or tied to hold it together. I guess it's blindfolded. So, I get the sense that the swords of this suit it's playing more on the unfortunate aspects of the suit of swords. Painful. Now we have 4, which isn't even a 5, but we see, because I was thinking maybe it was the 5, because of, we see the hand, but the hand only has 4 fingers. I'm not really sure what it suggests, in the context of the stability of 4, but the aggression of swords. It looks like it's within. Are they all within? No. Okay, so this looks like it's within a cave or something, as does the next one. So it's within something. It's framed at the top by something. Unless it's just dark clouds with the moon or something. I don't know. It looks like it could be a canopy, but it looks like it could just be a dark sky with a variety of moons. And then we have the 5, which has a bunch of eyes and hiding in what looks like it could be an anthill or some type of organic structure that houses a lot of beings that are seeking refuge. Because externally there's something that's dangerous to them. Now, I see 6 as a perfect number. So when I think of 6, especially 6 swords, I think if there is any potential danger in the suit of swords, that the 6 is the least hurtful. But here it's extremely hurtful. A barefoot stepping upon 6 swords. We see the pain represented by the flame. The tattooed leg, I'm not sure if it gives us clues. It shows that the person's probably worldly, it's been around. There's a candle. We have 7 of Swords. This could be facing one's fears, although I kind of would see that more in the Fortitude card than I would in the 7 of Swords. But I mean, the lion is a mighty beast, a formidable beast, right? And it is blindfolded. It doesn't see the attack coming. So this sort of suggests a nearness to death. The rib cage seems to be made from the swords. Here we have the 9, a porcupine. Porcupine spines. Some kind of critter descending upon the porcupine. We have a skull. 10 swords. Stabbing the eye. But the house does seem to be aflame. Here we have the knave. With a repetition of what we saw in the 5. We have a horse with a sword in its mouth, determined to get someplace. Lots of energy, lots of lightning bolts, lots of fire. A skull with a lot of eyes, perhaps. Here we have the queen. She's blindfolded. Demons, not demons, but dragons. I'm not sure how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe at least 8. And then we have the king playing. No, he's not playing an instrument. He's just, oh my goodness. So this is tarot, which has sometimes strange symbolism. So we have the image of himself hurting himself. Unfortunately, we have a rainbow. This is the artist's idea of what the King of Swords is. Maybe it's a reference to the playing card of what we call the, I don't want to say the word. Let me pull the card so you can see. So in, the typical deck playing cards, we have the king who appears to be stabbing himself in the head with a sword. Now, this is the King of Hearts, right? Now, this deck, it's occurring. There's something so similarly self-destructive is occurring, but it's happening with the King of Swords. Oh boy. Okay, here's a jarring example of sometimes how, nudity and sometimes can be off-putting. And so here we have an example of that. However, I think the breast, expressing milk is representing that this is a suit of cups, and that the suit of cups has to do with liquid form, vessels. Cups hold liquid, right? So this, being that it's a breast, could represent, nurturing, as the suit of swords is, looks to have been a bit violent, or let's see, just pull one that's from the suit of swords, violent or upsetting, right? The suit of cups, maybe this is a signal that this is more nurturing. I'm not sure what the constellation here is. I'm sorry, I don't know. I would love any of you astrologists who know what that is to please mention it down below. So we have growth, or the beginnings, or, two things growing. Two things that are different, that have no problem sharing the same soil, or they're separate but together in the same earth. And we have a reference to death, right? The skull, which suggests from, new beginning, right? So when we have 3, I'm not sure what makes this 3 other than 3 tiers of a cup with growth. And the ultimate cup has the flower. We have 4 cups, I'm not really sure. We have a castle that's overgrown with weeds, or cat o' nine tails. I associate cat o' nine tails when my parents had a home in Cape May, New Jersey. So there were lots of cat o' nine tails, because we were near the ocean. So I associate it with the ocean. I don't know if that's accurate, but it would be in keeping with the Suit of Cups because it's water for me, or liquid. So here we have underwater. We have 5. Are they underwater or what? Yeah, it looks like they're underwater. So the perils of what happens underneath the water. We have 6. We have chicks hatching. We have fire within a cup. We have a cloud raining. We have the sun. I don't know. So this card suggests that it's not water. We have winged things. We have growth, upward expansion. And here we have some type of calamity. We have growth, but then we have something in the background that's falling apart. The 9 of Cups raining down upon, a bucolic scene of abundance and growth. Ten Cups. So we see a castle, flames within, empty cups and growing cups. Okay, we have the Knave of Cups represented by a partially nude woman who's just enjoying the sauna of her cup. And it's having a milk bath, perhaps. Here's the Knight represented by something that's similar to a horse. Energy, flames, not much water. The Queen, she's got a full belly, so she's fertile. This is in her belly. And the King is not represented as a person at all. Again, we have like this enclosure, this time in pink. We have the King. Oh, there's the King. Very curious. Without the name, I don't think that I would recognize this as the King of Cups. I would certainly recognize it as the cups of something, He is wearing a crown, but... So here we have the Ace of Wands or batons. Again, which suit is the suit of fire, because they all seem to be. So here we have the spark between 2 batons, 2 girls or women. I'm not sure what these little things are. Are they little ghosts? What are they? Here we have the 3. So he's got 2 wands for he's got wands for legs, and then he's got a walking stick. That's a wand. He's got an apple in his core. So I think, at this stage, with the pips in particular, that the imagery is too distracting for me. I can't say what I feel about the 4 of batons without addressing what image this is, even though I don't really know what's going on. Okay, here we have another 5, whereby the critter is safe from the outer world. So it seems like that's a common theme with the 5s. I know we saw it in the Suit of Swords. Are we seeing it in the Suit of Cups too? Let's see. Well, let's find the Suit of Swords. Okay, so we have this, is safely nestled within some type of cocoon. Let's see what the Suit of Cups had for the, oh my goodness, they got out of order. 5 of Cups, no. Well, they're underwater, I guess. It looks like an underwater scene, but there's nothing, unless it's supposed to be understood that they're safe underwater. I don't know. It could be just the Suit of Swords and Batons because they're weapons, or they're more assertive or aggressive suits. That the 5 card is kind of different. You know, usually the 5 is, for me, unsettled, right? But here, the 5 in the Suit of Swords and Batons, at least, are offering refuge rather than despair. Here we have a chaotic scene with the 6 of Wands. I have no idea what's going on here. I guess, okay, I'm seeing the negative image, and that's what I'm, okay. See, I was seeing the negative. I was seeing the orange as the critter and seeing these as the negative space, but it's the opposite. It's this, these are the critters, and then the negative space is the orange background. But I can't. So my mind flip-flaps like an optical illusion. I see water in the background with eyes, right? And this orange mass is the thing. But then when my vision flops, then I see these things as the positive images, and then the orange as the background. But I still don't know what's going on there. 7 of Batons. I guess a type of critter, you know, doing his job, right? He's taking the twigs or whatever, the logs, to build his dam. Kind of a little bit of a tower energy happening here. It's not crumbling, but it's gonna. And the batons or the wands are tied to the towers of the house or the castle or whatever that is. Okay, 9 of Wands. A 2-headed individual is ascending a ladder amid flames, maybe to get a drink of water, I don't know. We have 10. Well, actually, like a happy little scene where we have a fox in his nest, or maybe behind the structure that the previous animal built in the water. And we have an electric eel, maybe. Now here we have the Knave of Wands again entering. Is she entering, or is she enclosed by, is she about to enter this sacred space or this safe space that we saw in the 5 of Swords? Again, a horse for the Knight of Wands. Lots of eyes. There's a key to a chest within his belly or his bowels. Yeah. Here's the Queen. Lots of bosoms growing within the tree. Here's the King. His limbs are the batons. I don't know what else to say. And now we're moving on to the last suit, Ace of Pentacles, or, you know, coins. So there's a swirling in the background. There's like, almost like what goes on in the universe with things like rotating or swirling around a body, you know, planetary or moon, you know, something that's holding them in orbit 2 coins or 2 pentacles. We have a skull with the pentacles for eyes. They're not even pentacles, really. We have a sack of coin in the hand with a sword that's detaching the head from the body. Of the bag. Yeah, so I think at some point I just sort of like said, I can't deal with this deck, or I just can't reconcile, I can't read this deck, you know? I mean, there's some that are like, I'd have to really, you know, if I didn't have any other tarot decks and this was the first one and I loved it and I just loved it so much that I used it all the time, I think that would be the way that this deck would really like appeal to me. Or if I was 40 years younger and I was able to transition, you know, but I'm old, you know, and I do appreciate seeing new ways to approach things. But I am old enough to recognize when maybe something isn't my cup of tea. And this is not to say that I shouldn't reach for this for meditation. You know, not worrying about what the cards mean or what they are, just looking at it for meditative purposes. I think that would have some value for sure. And I regret that I don't pull it out for that. We have 7 of coins. His wings are broken. He's on his own. He's going to fall into, he's counting on his wings to save him. He's falling off a cliff. He's, you know, at his own peril. And oh, wow, this is real effective. Now, this is a really cool depiction. So it's almost like the Fool taking a leap of faith, but he's chasing something that won't serve him. His wings broke and he's, you know, going to his demise. That's a pretty cool image. And it might even fit nicely with the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition of pursuing something, right, that might not serve you. Okay, we have 8 pentacles. So we have a buildup of things, layers of life that has come before us in the mountain or in land. I still don't know what these things are. They almost look like tennis birdies or something. 9 of Pentacles. This looks like somebody's back. There's his neck. There's his head, maybe. So it's within someone's, and here's his heart. So it could either be the front or the back, but the interior of a human form. I don't know. So the Knave of Pentacles, I guess, represents greed because the individual has the tail of, you know, what we might associate with the devil. There's flames, but there's flames in every card, so I don't know that that is like necessarily intrinsic to this. There's some confusion about their gender. So here we have the skeleton of a horse, spider web and a spider, a partially decayed individual on the back of the horse, about to, if they continue, fall into an abyss. We have the Queen of Pentacles underwater. And then we have the King of Pentacles. You know, it could suggest greed, you know, the darker side of the joy of being rich. It does feel like joy, right? But maybe it's only joyous for the one who's riding high. Again, in the interior of something. It's canopied here, framed. So yeah, it's 44 minutes in. So this was a very long video. I hope you found it interesting. You know, it was good for me to go through this deck again. I haven't looked at it in a number of years. And yeah, it was good for me to go through it. I still don't think it's my cup of tea. I still don't think it's one that I would pull for reading. But I do think it would have value for meditative purposes. I really do. Until next time. Oh, should I do a reading with it? In the next video, maybe I'll do 1 or 2 readings, you know, reading the cards, not interpreting as I would normally interpret a tarot deck, because this one's different. But I would interpret this deck. Okay, so maybe I will. I'll come back tomorrow with some reads with this deck. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well. Be brave and be kind. Be brave and be kind. You have to be brave to be kind in this culture.